You're listening to the Empowered Divorce Podcast, where you practice being the chooser in your life again, one day at a time. Thanks for joining me. Hello, my amazing, beautiful listeners. Welcome back to part 2. If you have not listened to last week's episode, where I went over the first 3 suggestions of what you can control and what to focus on in terms of what you can control, then it might behoove you to go back and listen to that episode first, then jump over to today's episode because I'm going to go over the last 3 of the 6 defensive driving metaphors for how we can defensively drive through life. Before I go on to the next 3, I wanted to just remind those of you who have not registered for the free monthly Q&A. We already met in April. We meet the first Thursday of every month, unless it falls on a holiday or whatever. But for the most part, we meet the first Thursday of every month. It is free. It is open to those of you who are in the process of divorce, wherever that process is, beginning, middle, end. I welcome you to come and join, ask questions, and really feel the support of others who are going through the process as well. I know not everybody can afford to get consistent support right now. It's something that I offer so that you can get in front of me and ask those questions. More importantly, just feel supported, feel heard, feel seen, not so crazy. You are not alone. Go to amiewoolsey.com, register for the live Q&A. You'll get the email reminders of when that's coming up, as well as the link to join. Now, remember, all of this is coming from the Defensive Drivers program that my husband Scott and I were doing to try and save a little money on our car insurance because we have too many drivers, too many kids. And so we're trying to save money where we can. As I was going through this driver's course, there's one section in here that really stood out to me where I could see how metaphorically this applied to our everyday life. It's highlighting the areas in our life that we can control because there's so much about this earth, this world, and in driving that we can't. They offered a few things to consider doing when we're driving to help us reduce impact and injury when driving. And my brain immediately went to how we can use this in our everyday life, and especially those of you who are having a life-saving divorce. If you remember last episode, we talked about the first 3 things that we can control. We can control our speed, our steering, and our follow distance, the distance between our car and the car in front of us. I gave some things to practice. How did you do on those practice self-reflecting questions? What did you notice? Are you speeding through the slow zones of your life? Are you letting someone else steer your car or steer your choices? Are both hands on the wheel? Or are you giving yourself enough space and distance from your ex and others in your life that you don't need to be so close to because it's robbing you of your peace? It's robbing you of freedom. Do you need more emotional, mental, physical distance? This week, we're going to talk about the next 3. It is so easy to get distracted while literally driving. The phone dings, the kids are yelling in the back, the drink spills in your lap because the barista didn't put the Starbucks lid on right. And then, of course, having this moment of if I had only asked for a straw, then none of this would happen. You know how it goes. Maybe you don't, but that's how it went for me. Some distractions are inside the car. Now we're metaphorically talking about your car, your vehicle, your thoughts, your emotions, and the chaos right next to you. Because maybe sometimes we're inviting people into our vehicle. And then we have distractions that are outside of the car, outside of your window, so to speak. What's pulling at your heart or pulling at your curiosity? A week ago, I was sitting at a red light and I noticed someone pacing up and down the median, clearly in some kind of emotional distress, yelling, shouting things. And I let my mind go there for a minute, wondering about their life, about their story, about their pain. I got completely absorbed. And the next thing I knew, I was yanked back into my reality by a long, aggressive honk from the car behind me. The light had turned green and I hadn't even noticed. And isn't that just like life too? Sometimes we get so wrapped up in other people's stories and our exes, our kids, our families, what they're going through and what they're doing or not doing, what we wish we could fix, that we forget to drive our own car, that we forget to recognize when the light is green and we get to go, we get to move. We forget that our life light turned green and then we stall out. Not because we're lazy, not because we're even unmotivated. That's not usually what I see, but because we're distracted by the pain that we're either ignoring in ourselves or the pain that wasn't even ours to carry to begin with. The distractions itself aren't bad. Here's the thing. I don't always believe that distractions are bad. They're signals. They show us where our focus is. And sometimes that focus is compassionately placed and sometimes it's codependently stuck. So many powerful and yet subtle distractions can show up during, after divorce, especially in the life-saving divorce where betrayal, abuse, and coercive control have been involved. So those internal or in-car distractions might be the ruminating thoughts, replaying conversations over and over, wondering if you missed the red flag, obsessing over why he did what he did, trying to make sense of their behavior when you are still left with no truth, no honesty, no accountability, and limited language even to explain what was going on their side of the street. So we can get stuck in rumination because what we can't control in that is their story, is their behaviors, and we can't control the false reality that we were living in. We also have some internal distractions like the what if, those what if spirals. What if I tried harder? What if he stayed? What if he got help? What if this ruins the kid's life forever? What if I'll be alone forever? What if I won't be able to financially provide? What if, what if, what if? Those are internal distractions that we can't control that might get us to speed where it's a slow zone, take both hands, one hand or both hands off the wheel, or tailgate. Shame stories, feeling like a failure, worrying if others are judging you, or believing that you should be over it by now. How many of you, all right, we have both sides of the spectrum where maybe people believe that you have this perfect relationship and that's the facade that, and the mask that you've even felt pressure to wear. So if people find out that you're divorcing, oh my gosh, now we have the shame story going on. We also get stuck in trying to figure them out. I see a lot of people get stuck in the psychoeducation where they go too far on the side of the pendulum of maybe trying to understand narcissism or addiction or abuse. Not that education is wrong, but if we're way on the other side of the pendulum where it's distracting us, like it was distracting me watching that person on the side of the street and I missed my green light. If we're missing the green light because we're trying to figure them out and understand them, then we've taken our hands off the wheel or we're speeding or we're tailgating or whatever. Another internal or inside the car distraction is perfectionism. How many of you are trying to heal perfectly or parent perfectly or respond perfectly? Or never let anybody see what's really going on because we feel like we have to divorce perfectly. A lot of external or outside of car distractions can be things like your ex's behavior around co-parenting or parallel parenting conflicts, those passive aggressive text messages, the manipulative requests, the guilt trips. Those are all outside of your control. Then their new partner, obsessing over their new partner, comparing yourself to them, feeling replaced by them, court drama, legal deadlines, the threats, fear from custody lost, or even just hiring a lawyer can hijack your central nervous system. And all of that is outside your car. All of that is something that we can get distracted by and miss our life's green light. Other people's opinions, those are outside your car. Kids' emotions. This one's a tough one to really radically accept, y'all, but your children's emotions about the other parent, about the divorce, about you, about the changes, those are outside of your vehicle. You cannot control your child's emotions. I know that's really, really hard for some of you to accept. Oftentimes we get a false positive because we might be doing things that seemingly control or minimize our children's reactions or negative emotions to the situation. So we can get a little sidetracked. That reality can be a little clouded. There can be some fog in the way of that because it might feel like progress, but it's not actually what we can control. And at some point, that's going to smack you in the face too. The quicker that we can radically accept that our children's emotions are outside our personal control bubble, outside our vehicle, the more we can actually influence and support them in their emotions of grief, of anger, or those loyalty binds, right, that they are struggling with between the two parents. Okay, social media is outside your vehicle. What other people are saying, what we're doing to compare our life to other people's lives, especially when we're on social media. All of these distractions in the vehicle or outside of the vehicle can often feel like you're doing something, thinking, helping, parenting, preparing, managing, perfecting. And it can temporarily satisfy when we want to push through, power through, and control because you don't like what's happening. But they all can subtly pull you away from what you actually need and want, which is freedom, peace, and getting your life back. So maybe the question becomes, where am I letting someone else's storm pull me out of my lane? What distraction is keeping me from moving forward in my life when the light is green? The light is green. What's keeping you from pressing on the gas pedal? Okay, the next safety suggestion is GPS. So in my defensive driving manual, it suggests this very simple, but yet again, powerful tip. Set your GPS in your music before you start driving. Okay, that's what it said. Because when you're already moving, trying to fumble with directions or scroll through the right playlist, it can be distracting and sometimes dangerous. The same goes for life, especially during or after a life-saving divorce. So where are you going? Do you know? Even just a general direction, because you don't have to have the entire map figured out or even showing on your screen in your car. You just need to know what your next turn is. And that's how GPS works. At least mine does. It doesn't give me the whole route at once I hit go, once I hit start. It tells me turn right in 500 feet. So all I am looking for is the next 500 feet, what my turn is. Then I make that turn right. And then it gives me the next one. That's exactly how life can work too, especially when you're recovering from trauma, healing from trauma, rebuilding your life from divorce. You might have a destination in mind: freedom, peace, wholeness, financial independence, maybe even love again, but you won't get the full map. You'll get one nudge, one direction at a time, one brave decision at a time, one new boundary at a time, one step towards yourself. And then there's the music. Music, gosh, I love music. Music is the energy that rides with you. It sets the tone. It affects your mood. It affects your mood, your focus, even your nervous system. So the manual said, set your music before you drive. I'm interpreting this to mean being intentional about what's playing in the background of your life. So ask yourself, what is my life playlist right now? Is it the sad song on repeat? It's not a problem with the sad song. Is it stuck on repeat? Is it the angry breakup anthem stuck on repeat? Is it the silence that feels numb or heavy? Or are you playing music that lifts, inspires, and reminds you that you are enough, that you are empowered, that you are moving towards something better? Because the music in the background matters. You could be headed in the right direction, but feel completely discouraged if the soundtrack doesn't match your vision. Maybe you have people in your life that are the background music, that are giving the energy of victim. Maybe they're giving the energy of shame. What is in the background? Are we associating with people that are telling us things about ourselves, telling us things about the situation? What is the energy of what they're saying? And what is that quote music playing for you in the background? It's that guiding you to. It matters. What is your GPS set to? What's your next right turn? Is it in the direction that you're choosing to go? What kind of energy do you want playing as you move forward? Sometimes we get caught up in someone else's GPS when we start following their map, their timeline, their healing journey, their expectations, and their voice in our head saying, turn here, go faster, don't stop. Or we accidentally punch in the old GPS destination, maybe one from our past, the version of the life that we thought we were going to have, the address of the relationship that no longer exists, the dream of the future that was built on promises that you are now realizing you can't and couldn't trust. And we keep trying to drive there, even though it no longer exists, even though it's not where perhaps we even want to end up anymore. And then we wonder why we feel lost or confused or burned out. Because you can't move forward if you're still driving towards the place that no longer exists for you or is healthy for you. So ask yourself, whose GPS am I following right now? Am I still trying to return to a life that is no longer mine? And do I need to re-enter a new destination, one that's mine alone, that I choose? Because this is your drive, this is your map, this is your music. You're the one that gets to reset the course anytime. And you can reset that course as many times during the day as you want. Okay, the last one. This section in my defensive training said, this one was all about safety and positioning. So making sure that you're all set up to respond well and stay protected in case of that impact. Same goes for life. Once again, especially when you are healing from betrayal or navigating a life-saving divorce. So the first safety suggestion was wear your seatbelt. The seatbelt over the shoulder and the lap, and having it in its proper position, because the seatbelts keep you secure. They protect you when life jolts you or crashes. So in your healing journey, your seatbelt might be your support system, might be your therapist, might be your coach, might be groups, boundaries, and other self-care practices that ground you, that regulate your central nervous system. Are all of those in place? Are they secure? Are they buckled in? Are they buckled into your truth? Is your seatbelt buckled into your truth? Or are you still relying on someone else's to hold you in place? Are you holding on to his truth and what he says and what he's telling everybody, including the kids? Is that what you're buckled into? If we're buckled into that, how is that going to keep you safe from impact and injury and a crack? Let's say your ex sends a text that's passive aggressive or maybe even intentionally triggering. Before you can even take a breath, you're spiraling, rereading it, drafting replies, trying to decode what he really meant, asking friends for advice, maybe even feeling sick to your stomach. All of that's a sign that you're not belted in. You're not anchored into your own sense of safety or your own truth in that moment. You're unsecured, emotionally being flung around by someone else's words or energy. That text, it jolted you because your emotional seatbelt wasn't clicked in, meaning you didn't pause, you didn't regulate, you didn't ground into your values, threw you into panic, doubt, and maybe even a people pleasing. Being belted in doesn't mean you don't feel. So hear me correctly there. It means you are secured in yourself first. You pause, you breathe, you remind yourself. This text, his thoughts about whatever it is, me, the situation, the kid, does not define me. I can choose how I want to respond, even if to respond, which most of the time it's not responding, by the way. I'm allowed to wait before engaging, or I'm allowed to not engage. When you're belted in, the impact might still come, but it won't destroy you. It might shake you, but it won't break you because you've anchored yourself into your truth, your safety, and your own boundaries. Now, let's say you're dating again. Imagine you're getting back out there, you're dipping your toe into dating after divorce. And you start talking to someone who seems really great at first, very charming, communicative, says all the right things. And then boom, you're daydreaming about your future together, checking your phone constantly, maybe even ignoring some of those little red flags because honestly, you really want this to work, but you're not belted in. You've unhooked yourself from self-trust, handed over emotional safety to someone that you barely know. And instead of pacing yourself, checking in with your body, staying grounded to your values and clarity, you're riding in their car now, letting their words and attention steer you in that emotional state. Being belted in, at least around dating right now, means staying connected to you the whole time. This is why I named my dating workshop Dating from Within. It is about the whole process from healing after divorce to navigating the dating. You are staying belted in and anchored to yourself. When you're belted in, you might still enjoy the ride, but you're safely anchored. If it stops suddenly, you're not going to fling forward. If it veers off course, you'll feel that and be able to correct because your sense of self is secure, no matter who's in the passenger seat. So ask yourself, am I relying on external validation or am I securely fastened into my own worth and value and truth and safety? Okay, the next little adjustment of safety was properly adjust your mirrors. Mirrors help you see. Mirrors help you see behind you, beside you, and what's coming up in front of you, right in front of you. In healing, this is about awareness and reflection. So are you looking clearly at the past? Not to stay stuck in it, but to understand it, to see the patterns of it, to help it inform you of what we might not want to run into again in the future. Are you checking your blind spots? The parts of yourself that tend to overlook, dismiss, rationalize, minimize, or justify. Are we scanning what's behind us or are we watching what's unfolding ahead? What parts of your story still need a compassionate reflection so that you can still move forward? The other adjustment, safety adjustment, is to properly adjust the seat. Well, your seat determines your comfort in that car. It determines your view. I always have to move my seat up. When other people drive my car, they move it down. I always have to move it up and forward because I'm so short. Your seat determines your comfort, your view, and your ability to reach what you need, which in the vehicle, I need to be able to see. This one is all about, the way I'm interpreting it at least, is all about positioning yourself for healing, literally and metaphorically. When you're driving, if your seat's too far back, you're straining just to reach the pedals. If it's too far forward, you're cramped, reactive, constantly on edge. If it's too low, you can't really see clearly. If it's tilted wrong, your back hurts the entire ride. If you never adjust it because someone else drove your car last and you don't adjust it, you end up having to navigate your own journey from their setup. This is exactly what happens in life after betrayal and divorce. If you're trying to move through life from the old misguided perspective, posture, or seating, then the version of you who tolerated mistreatment, minimized your needs, or kept the peace at your own expense, you're going to stay stuck in that discomfort. You're going to struggle to access the things that you need now, like peace and strength and clarity and self-trust. Positioning yourself for healing means checking in and asking, am I sitting in the position of empowerment, rooted in my truth, grounded in my values and who I am? Or am I shrinking? Am I staying small because it feels safer or familiar or it's more acceptable to others? You might be sitting with your shoulders hunched, bracing for the next betrayal, even though you're out of that toxic relationship. You might be sitting a little bit sideways, still keeping an eye on your ex, keeping an eye on your past, your grief. when what you really need is to adjust and face forward. You might even be in the passenger seat altogether, letting someone else drive your car. Adjusting the seat means maybe rising up so that you can see your future clearly. Pull it forward so you can reach the healing tools within your grasp. Tilt it back just enough to be kind to your body, to your heart, and to your story. Positioning yourself to claim your rightful spot behind that wheel because you have a right to be there. Healing doesn't just happen from any seat. It happens when you position yourself in alignment with who you're becoming in your seat. Next one, having a clear line of sight above the steering wheel and the dash. You need to be able to see where you're going. If your view is blocked in any way, then you can't anticipate what's coming ahead. So in life, this means getting really honest about your direction, what might be clouding your clarity. Fear will cloud that clarity. Shame, guilt, someone else's thoughts, feelings, and opinions about you, someone else's agenda. Ask yourself, what is currently blocking my vision? What might I not be wanting to see clearly? There's a lot of radical acceptance that might be here. The next one is having easy access to the gas and brake pedal. This is about responsiveness and regulation. You need to be able to accelerate when it's time to move and slow down or stop when something feels off. If we're stuck in hypervigilance or in freeze, then you're not going to be in control either. Asking yourself, how am I in touch with my nervous system right now? Am I pressing on that gas pedal and trying to accelerate really fast through in that hypervigilant state? Or if I pushed on the brakes and I refuse to go, I don't care how many people are honking at me. I'm in freeze mode, can't move. Okay, the last one. This one was interesting because I didn't expect it to be in the manual, but it made a lot of sense. And I could see the metaphor here in life too, but it's at least 12 inches between your chest and the center of the wheel. That's what's in my manual as a safety precaution if there's a crash. So this one's about distance and safety because too close means you're at higher risk of injury. And in healing, I believe this can translate to emotional boundaries, which a lot of us don't consider when we're setting boundaries. We might more often consider those physical boundaries, but not the emotional. So are you pressed up against things that aren't yours to carry? Or are you giving yourself enough space from the chaos on the other side of the street, the toxicity, the emotional enmeshment? In a car, we are taught to keep at least 12 inches between our chest and the steering wheel. Again, not because you're not in control, but because in the event of impact, being too close can cause more harm. That's what they're telling me in the manual. The airbag that's meant to protect you can actually injure you if there's not enough space. Now, again, think about this in terms of emotional boundaries. Being too close to that negative energy of another person, the wrong person, or even the wrong version of a person can cause damage. So that might look like checking their social media every day, obsessing over their next move or what they may or may not be doing with the children. Letting their emotional state determine yours. If they're angry, then you spiral. If they're kind, then you soften and negate your boundaries. When you take on your kids' emotions to the point where you disappear, you're too close to the steering wheel. Might even be pressed up against your own shame or fear. But now we're too close to getting a perspective. You've lost your breathing room in your healing. So distance between you and that wheel is not disconnection. It is protection, it is regulation, and it is clarity. When you give yourself that emotional space from the chaos, from the guilt, from other people's projections, you get to create that room to think clearly, to feel your emotions fully, and to respond wisely. So what we can't control, other drivers, passengers inside our vehicle. We can't control others outside the vehicle. Even though you can't control what others do, you can clearly state what is expected of your passengers when they drive with you. And you can ask them to wear their seatbelts, keep their body parts inside the vehicle, and not distract you while you're driving. Those are healthy and appropriate boundaries to have to make with anybody that you're traveling in life a little bit safer. So from last week to this week, we went over 6 safety suggestions as you're driving through life. Things that you can control, things that when practiced, not perfected, will help you to reduce the impact and injury, but not prevent, because we are radically accepting what we can't control on the other side of the street and the other people driving their vehicles. But when we practice what we can control, these things, we can limit the opportunity for impact and injury. We can control our speed, control your pace. Healing isn't a race. Slow is not stuck. Go the speed that honors your nervous system, that honors your grief, and honors your truth. Steering, keep both hands on the wheel. It's your life. It is your lane. Do not let fear or guilt or shame or someone else's voice take control of that wheel. Following distance, back up a little. Emotional safety requires space. You don't have to follow so closely that someone else's chaos becomes your crisis. Number 4, distractions. Watch what's pulling your focus away from what's in front of you, from the life that you get to create in front of you, whether it's your ex or someone else's journey or your own unprocessed fear or distractions along the way that disconnects you from your destination, that disconnects you from watching, from noticing the green light go. 5, GPS and music. Set your intention and your energy before you begin the day, before you begin the task, before you begin the text message response. Set your GPS and your music. You don't need to know every turn, just one next turn. Make sure your soundtrack that's playing in the background supports your destination. Then make proper adjustments. Position yourself for healing. Check your seat, check your mirrors, check your line of sight, your boundaries, your support system. Your emotional posture in that seat matters because you deserve to ride in comfort, in clarity, and in safety. You are the driver of your life. You're the one that pulls the wheel, choosing the pace, setting the destination, making adjustments along the way. And this is not about getting it perfect. You're not powerless. And you're not at the mercy of your past either. You absolutely can choose how you travel this road right now, no matter how hard or stormy it is. You can create something new because you are the chooser in your life. And you get to create the life that you want because you can. Take care, everybody.